For Tuesday, April 26, 2022. If you would silence your cell phones. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Present.
Commissioner Sacks.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll begin as always with invocation, following by Pledge of Allegiance. Police Department Chaplain Sheila Turner will give the invocation.
May we bow our heads and hearts to the Lord. I thank you, Father, for allowing us to come together one more time in making decisions for our city, making changes for our city, and giving us the right decisions for our city. In Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Khaled, any changes to the agenda tonight?
Yes, Mayor. I have three changes. Change number one is under consent agenda, and that is item 6G. Consider the approval of an amendment to an existing special magistrate services contract that will be continued to May 10th, 2022. The second item is under ordinances, second reading and public hearings, item 8A, conduct a public hearing to consider a request for City Commission approval for a historic tree removal, 1-22 of live oak tree at the proposed Tyonia Road storage. That will continue to May 10th as well.
We need a motion on the 8A, and then there's one more.
Yeah, what's the other one?
And then one more is 9.
A.
9A, and that is ordinance number 13-22, conduct the first reading of an ordinance which, if adopted upon the second reading and public hearing, would create a new regulation under Land Development Regulations, Section 1200, Architectural Design Standards as it pertains to murals. And that will continue to May 10th as well.
Okay, so Carrie,
Need
do
a
we need
motion on 8A and 8.
Yes, just 8A.
just 8A, not 9A?
No, that's a staff.
Okay.
Item.
Motion to approve moving 8A item to the May 10th meeting.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a proclamation tonight. We'll just use this. We have a proclamation tonight for the airport proclaiming the 75th anniversary of the New Smyrna Beach Airport, joined by Mr. Dempsey, who is the Airport Advisory Board member. Chairman of the Airport Advisory Board, my apologies. So I'm going to give a little background here in the proclamation for the airport. Whereas at the start of World War II, it became imperative that the U.S. military find suitable airfields for training purposes. At that time, the present airport site was just a grass strip in the middle of an orange grove, which also served as the local golf course. And of note, the museum actually sent me a little write-up on this and mentioned that I think, oh man, I just forgot which president it was. One of the presidents. Do you remember, Khaled? No? All right. It's in the email. One of the presidents stopped, but not anybody recently, stopped by and played golf, according to lore, played golf on the local golf course. This location was eventually selected and developed by the U.S. military as Navy Outlying Field New Smyrna Beach. Fantastic title. Which operated as an auxiliary field to advance naval flight training operations. Whereas by 1945, the airfield contained 5 barracks buildings, a mess hall, a pump house, an armory, administrative building, officers' quarters, a recreation building, and a radio transmittal tower. Whereas after the War Assets Administration was created to dispose of the government-owned surplus materials and property. As part of that effort, the airport was deeded to the city of New Smyrna Beach on April 10th, 1947, and has been owned and operated by the city since that time. Whereas in 2005, the New Smyrna Beach Airport was renamed New Smyrna Airport / Jack Bolt Field and dedicated to Jack Bolt, who is a retired colonel and longtime resident of New Smyrna. He earned the heroic accomplishment of being one of only 7 men to become an ace in both the World War II and the Korean conflict. To this day, the only Marine Corps jet ace. And whereas the present-day airport is a public-use airfield owned and operated by the city of New Smyrna, provides aviation services to all residents of Southeast Volusia County with an average of 145,000 annual operations, and nearly as many emails to the commission about the noise of that. Now, therefore, I, Russo, and Mayor of the City of New Smyrna, do hereby honor the New Smyrna Beach Municipal Airport on their 75th anniversary in the City of New Smyrna, and recognize that the airport's mission is to enhance and promote safety and ensure security while promoting economic development for future growth. Whereas that has been affirmed and affixed this 26th day of April 2022. On behalf of the Airport Advisory Board, I present this to you, Mr. Dempsey.
Hey, Mayor. Mayor, it was President Harding.
President Harding. All right, President Harding is who it was. Let's stop by New Smyrna Beach. Okay, next item up is public participation. This is your chance to address the commission, any item on your mind. Keep in mind, things under second readings and public hearings, there will be a chance to address the commission in addition or in conjunction with those items at that time. So you can save those comments for then if you would like. And then also keep in mind, items under first reading, one of them has been pulled, 9A. Other items under first reading generally don't garner a lot of debate upon first reading. We're really just reading it into the record, and then the public hearing and discussion will be at subsequent meetings. But obviously, this is your time for you to address us on anything you would like. So with that, I'll open up public participation. You can come forward to the podium here and give your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Pasquale Bergnola. I live at 391 South Timberlane Drive. To reiterate, I'm not opposed to Chick-fil-A in New Smyrna Beach. I am opposed to the current site. Tonight, I have some comments, questions, and requests. First, per Mr. Gov, FDOT is requesting rezoning. What are they asking for? No one seems to know, and I would assume that is strictly for the benefit of Chick-fil-A and not for the residents directly affected by the site. Therefore, if FDOT can make this request during the application process, I respectfully request that the commission make a motion to rezone the Timberlane PUD and any current and future PUDs along south side of State Road 44, initially from east of South Wild Orange to west of Oliver Estates, that eliminates any restaurant as defined in the comprehensive plan from the list of approved businesses. Second, last Wednesday evening's neighborhood meeting, sponsored and conducted by Mr. Michael Woods, attorney from Cobb and Cole, was an eye-opening event for both the Chick-fil-A representatives and all the attendees. Mr. Woods started the meeting explaining the pages of his slideshow presentation, which were backed up with an 8x10 glossy pictures in a handout. It wasn't until he turned over the mic to the other experts on the dais that the crowd sensed book smarts and those relying on algorithms and computer models to make their decisions were going to clash with street smarts and experience. The experts, which were all out-of-towners and never toured the neighborhoods, were surprised and taken aback by the opposition to this application. They did not know that all 180 homes in the neighborhoods are on septic systems, that all the neighborhoods are prone to flooding, that there's a tributary running through Oliver Estates which crosses Timberlane and Wildwood, and of course, all of the traffic issues associated with the site. Therefore, I respectfully request the commission make a motion to temporarily put a hold on this application until all the issues are honestly evaluated and honestly resolved. And lastly, I have a list of questions. One, what is the definition of an access easement and how is it different from an ingress and egress easement? Are the vehicles transiting in access easement counted in a traffic impact assessment for total number of trips in and out? Is the Colony Park extension the road that cuts through the ABC store pit and connects to South Timberlane Drive and State Road 44? A state road, a county road, a city road, or is it considered an ingress-egress easement? And if it's an easement, can the road be permanently blocked by the PUD property owners? Fourth and last, are there any plans to block off the ends of Oliver Drive and South Timberlane Drive that connect to State Road 44? Are the ends of these streets, which all fall under the hash lines designating a PUD, considered part of the PUDs? Thank you for your time and consideration. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Others for public participation? Yes, sir. Come right ahead, Joe.
Good evening. My name is Joe Dluback. I live at Venetian Bay and at 3587 Casalta Circle. There's been much discussion at recent City Commission meetings and workshops regarding the need to update the city's comp plan and land development regulations. The basis for those seem to have been motivated by activity or lack of at Venetian Bay, which is burdened by a 20-year-old MDA. There are two items of major concern here: parks and amenities and a meeting hall community center. We certainly applaud Commissioner Colodey's initiative to address parks. Our other concern, though, is the community center. The developer seems to have checked off that box on his requirements because of the sale of an office space which includes a conference room that seats 8 and only available from business hours, only if you're quiet. Even Jerry Johnson, the original developer for Venetian Bay, considers that to be laughable. Well, there was a contract signed for that office space by the Venetian Bay HOA, which happens to be developer controlled. The residents feel that that space is woefully inadequate for its purpose. Because of the MDA, which is a contract between a developer and the city, only this body, the city commissioners, has the authority to accept or deny that satisfaction. The residents of Venetian Bay want to be an example for how to do things right. We do not want to be a beta test site for any future development. Thank you.
Thank you. Others? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Sachs, and I live at 816 East 8th Avenue. I have a petition and other documents that I presented to the city clerk just before this meeting, and she'll scan the information and give them to you. The petition was signed by 165 people, most of them my neighbors. This local neighborhood, and it's about Saxon, reducing the speed on Saxon Drive by 5 miles per hour. This local neighborhood road is the only neighborhood road on Beachside that is 35 miles an hour. I have the 2012 Traffic Engineering Division traffic study from the county when I had a petition that I did in 2011 to reduce the speed limit on South Atlantic Avenue from 45 to 40. Before the speed limit on Atlantic was reduced, there was a 10-mile difference between the two roads, and they're two very different roads. One's a thoroughfare and one's a local road with only 2 lanes instead of 4 lanes. So when the speed thankfully was reduced to 40 miles per hour, the difference never got adjusted. So now it's only 5 miles difference, and South Atlantic and Saxon are like night and day. There's also, Saxon Drive is a 2-lane local street, very similar in size and length to North Peninsula, which is on North Beach. And both streets have a real bad traffic light intersection, as we know, Peninsula and Flagler and 3rd Avenue and Saxon. And they both have street neighborhoods with lots of cutouts and driveways. However, Peninsula has a 3-way stop sign in the mid portion and also only has a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. Saxon does not. Saxon has an elementary school on it, and North Peninsula does not. Both roads have high pedestrian and bicyclists using them. Part of Saxon's multi-use path has no separation from the traffic lanes. Some of the striping is also faded. In my packet, which you'll see when it's scanned to you, Saxon also had a boat leave its trailer and flip over on the pedestrian lane near Saxon and 3rd Avenue. And I have a screenshot of that in the packet that I gave to Kelly. Saxon, since I've been here 2001, has had 3 fatalities. My neighbor's grandson in 2001, the 2017, and then 2019. My research mentions concerns with the 85 percentile speed test because it does not consider community needs, and it has been proven to hinder the decision-making process in setting a safe speed limit. With my photos, I have included research about the speed and what other cities have done. The photos show and explain the out-of-order school zone signs at Coronado Beach Elementary, which ironically creates a speed trap because the end of school zone sign is before the 20-mile-an-hour limit school entrance sign. I hope that you review this paperwork that I submitted. In the 21 years that I've been here, I have seen this sleepy neighborhood road turn into a major cut-through, which is very dangerous for drivers, pedestrians, bicyclists, and low-speed vehicles. Due to all this growth, there is mail being delivered, garbage and waste pro, Amazon vehicles, to name a few, that stop and cause backups to 3rd Avenue, along with construction and trucks that are doing things as far as that goes. This has caused it to...
I hate to cut you off. You're just way over time.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, well, you get the gist of it.
Yes,
And
yes, ma'am.
please look at my
Yes, ma'am.
documents. Thanks.
Thank you.
God, I'm underdressed.
It's all right.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name's Dominic Bershali. I live at 2436 Lydia Way here in New Smyrna. I've been there close to 30 years. Went to school at Spruce Creek. First time I've ever voiced my opinion in a matter such as this, and it's the matter concerning Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A, but the decision on moving it or having it placed in that area is pretty unsound. If you were using your GPS and went to Chick-fil-A where the place is now and you were going west, it would automatically put you through Oliver Estates. I don't know if any of you gentlemen or ladies have been through Oliver Estates in the last few years. The roads are in sad shape. When we moved there, it was county, it was kind of country. I understand that there's going to be progress. Florida, an influx of people right now, it's crazy. I mean, we've seen a 7-Eleven, a Jiffy, Circle K. I mean, it's booming. But there's a lot of property along Highway 44 that is undeveloped with plenty of room to satisfy everyone's needs. I went to a neighborhood meeting. They said they did testing and all these special things and how great this Chick-fil-A is going to be bigger than any Chick-fil-A around. The drive-through alone is going to hold 38 cars, and they're going to be able to kick out them chicken sandwiches crazy like, and that's great. The problem is when they leave. Would any of you gentlemen like a Chick-fil-A in your backyard? Okay. I never saw any DOT or traffic counting tubes that they run across the street. I never saw any type of testing being done. All I wanted to say at this point is we need to reevaluate the situation because everyone's been down 44. It needs to be 3 lanes both ways. And the slower we get to that, the more problems we're going to have with congestion. Our 44 is Port Orange, Dunlawton, and we have the same amount of traffic. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks. Any others from public participation? Yes, sir, come ahead.
Evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is David Donovan. I live in 4012 Oliver Drive. I as well am opposed to the location for Chick-fil-A. I spoke here 2 weeks ago against the Chick-fil-A, attended the meeting last week. When I went into the meeting, I went in with my tripod and my video camera. I asked the attorney if he was going to videotape it or if I was allowed to. They had no intentions to videotape it. They allowed me to videotape it, and I have a copy of that videotape for you to see that the activity that occurred that night, to take firsthand observation of it. It's my understanding that Chick-fil-A will be providing you a summary of that meeting. My expectation is it's biased and it's painted towards their interests and less towards ours. So I'd like for you to take the opportunity to review this. Randy Hartman has been to my home. He's been in my backyard observing the tributary that my neighbor spoke to. It's real. It's caused devastation to my property and neighbors' properties. The commission that was there last week were surprised at these things. They weren't aware, number one, there were no sidewalks through our neighborhood. They weren't aware that we had drainage issues. They haven't done the studies. They don't know our neighborhood. They're running numbers, they're running calculations. When we asked them what the peak volumes are they would expect, they indicated 275 an hour on a Saturday at 10 a.m. If you do the math on that, that's 4 a minute. 4 cars a minute pumping in and out of that for an hour. Just consider the volume of traffic as to what that is. They explained a behemoth system that they're putting together to be able to expedite food out. Instead of pass-through windows, they're going to have sliding doors and have couriers running food in and out. So their intention is to sell chicken. That's their intention. Their intention is not to be concerned about the impact it causes to our community, the safety to our children. Again, our community is a very neighborhood-oriented community. We have people walking through the community all the time, riding bikes all the time. I work from home. I look out my window all day long. I see it all day long. So it's a community of people. It's not something that should be taken lightly. I believe that you have a decision to make. I believe they're going to be seeking variances. You have the decision to waive those variances, to deny those variances. This is an opportunity for you to make a wise decision and not something extremely detrimental to the community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Is there someone that I can give this to?
You can leave it with the clerk right there.
Very good.
She'll make sure we each get a copy of that. She can give you that drive back if you need it. Not tonight, but sometime. Any others for public participation? All right. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if this will work. I'm a little too tall for it. My name is Jim Thulis. I live at 2440 Clare Avenue in Oliver Estates, and yes, I'm here about the Chick-fil-A that may come to you folks if Planning and Zoning performs due diligence and turns them down for their PUD amendment. I wanted to zero in on specifically the issues. Everybody can say traffic, and we know there's a traffic problem in the city, and it's going to get worse. Specifically, it is the issue of the 2 small roads on either side of this parcel. Primarily, Oliver Drive is going to be the one that is used for exiting the site. The drive-through is right adjacent to the proposed entryway. At the meeting the other night, the representative said no tremendous traffic impact, no need for major roadway improvements to Oliver Drive. Certainly no need for a traffic light on 44. And right now, when you exit onto Oliver Drive, you're going to turn right, hopefully, and you have to wait for the traffic to come. Anybody wanting to go westbound has to make a right. They have to break over 2 lanes of traffic, get into a left turn lane, wait 2 light cycles to make a U-turn. We all know everybody's got a phone, Google Maps, and as they're waiting to leave Chick-fil-A, anybody going westbound is going to turn left, go into Oliver Estates on the small streets that we have that are fine for us. And they're going to meander their way through to get up to Lydia, make a tight turn, get to Glencoe, get a left turn light at the new Glencoe light. It's going to happen. And they're going to come that way in reverse. We didn't sign up for Patricia Drive to become an alternative route to 44. It is not Pioneer Trail, all right? Chick-fil-A's own admission is they're going to pull traffic in from the freeway. They have no plan for oversized vehicles. The motorhomes, the U-Hauls towing cars on their way to Key Largo. Where are they going to go? Where they're going to go is down Oliver or down Timber Lane, a dead-end road. Then they're going to double park in front of people's homes. And we didn't sign up for that either. They may pull into ABC, private property, and park there. I don't think ABC is going to like that. So you folks have never seen me here before. It's a big enough deal. If this was for a T-Mobile or a realty office or something in line with the roads adjacent to it, wouldn't be here. You could take AutoZone, Tractor Supply, the new O'Reilly's, combine them all together, and while you're at it, add ABC, add Verizon, and look at all the total number of traffic, and they are not going to add up to what Chick-fil-A is going to do in an hour. Nobody in this group of 200 people that have signed this petition is against Chick-fil-A. They all go to it. I've never been. They want it on 44, but there's a better site for it out to the west. There has to be. And so we're not about Chick-fil-A as a company or ethics or lack of. That's not what this is about. It's strictly land use. So there's got to be a better place to put this thing. Okay? Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. Seeing none others, we will close public participation. I feel I owe it just briefly to tell most folks spoke about the Chick-fil-A. So for those of you that are here for came on behalf of that, obviously that's not on the agenda tonight. You all know that. You're just being out ahead of this. I can't. The one gentleman had several different questions. I can't answer all those tonight. We will answer those as we go through the process. But I guess I want to make sure it's clear. These things don't originate here and then we push them out there. They originate out there and then eventually they kind of land here. And so we go through this process, we sit up here, we hear this feedback. We have to be very careful what we say because it's an evidentiary process. They're asking us to make a decision. We have to be very careful what we say before we've kind of heard their whole case, or else we kind of open ourselves up. So that's why you might hear some caged comments, if you will. There will come a time, if they proceed with this, where this commission, every single one of us will be able to, right here behind this very podium, say exactly how we feel and make a definitive vote on this. In the meantime, you're welcome to reach out to us like this or otherwise, and I guess have already visited with some. I know I've responded to a few emails. I haven't been able to respond to all of them. So anyway, I think you guys are doing the right thing by staying on top of something that will impact your neighborhood, and I commend you for that. So thank you for coming tonight. All right, with that, we will move to the consent agenda. Gentlemen, remembering item 6G was removed. So we have items 6A through H with the exception of item 6G. Anyone wish to pull any of those items, or if you just have a very brief comment for clarity, feel free to make that now. We'll begin with Commissioner Colodi.
No comments, pull nothing.
Okay, Commissioner Sachs.
Pull 6H, please, just for comments, no vote.
Okay, do you just want to make that comment? If you're,
I can make it
go
now.
ahead. Yeah, just go ahead and make the comment.
You guys don't mind?
Yeah.
Yes, it's about time. We do have a very nice fireworks display in our city. I'm very proud of it. I'm sure you all are. People are very happy to go see it on the water. And unfortunately, COVID kind of kiboshed that for a while, so I'm happy to see that come back. But I'm very sensitive to the effects of fireworks that go up and blow up. You've heard me say that before. They are illegal in Florida. Most of those will occur on the beach side, over directly on the beach. It seems folks come here for the holiday and they come with hundreds of thousands of dollars of fireworks that litter our beaches, cause PTSD in war veterans, cause animals to run away from their homes and be very frightened. I've seen it all. And I just want to urge people, if you know people out there who've purchased these fireworks, I urge you not to set them off on the beach. It's a major inconvenience. It's toxic. It's pollution. I don't know how much more I can say about how bad it is. So I definitely endorse our own fireworks. I think we'll put on a great display, but I discourage the use of individual fireworks. And I hope that our city does not allow the displays that are temporarily set up that sell fireworks that go up and blow up. I have seen them in our city many times.
Yeah, they're not on city property, though. They're on county property. Am I correct on that, City Attorney?
Is that true?
I don't think we have any permits.
Beach?
What's that?
Or is
No,
talking about-
No,
The fireworks
actually-
stands.
Oh,
We-
yeah,
we
those
don't-
are actually on county property.
We don't issue any permits for fireworks stands on city
The
property.
city has no permits.
That's good to hear.
And fireworks are legal in the state of Florida on 3 or 4 designated holidays now.
And
I
July
don't
4th
know if
is
they're
one.
necessarily legal on the beach, so that is something maybe beach control could address, but I don't know if they're legal on the beach, but they are legal in the state of Florida on those designated holidays. So, Vice Mayor, any comments?
No comments, Mayor.
Commissioner Hartman? All right, so with the exception of item 6G, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make that motion.
Second.
City Clerk?
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 7A. If we got all those properties annexed in, we could solve that firework. I know the fireworks stand you're talking about, and it is definitely in our limits, but it's not on our property. 7A, Police Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight, this item before you is Phase 3 of our strategic plan. If you had a chance to review the strategic plan that was attached to this item, you see that it was a 4-phase approach over the course of 3 years, 22, 23, and 24, to get the police department where we can provide the very best in service and efficiency to the citizens. Just as a quick review, in Phase 1, what we did was a realignment of duties, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the 3 positions that I'm going to talk about tonight, as to why we needed to realign those duties. In Phase 2, we have managed to implement the community services aides positions. There are 2 community services aides that are working at this time, and that program is evolving as we go on. What we did was we decided that we were going to start very slowly with those positions and give them a little bit and then have them grow into that position. They are non-enforcement folks, so they do non-enforcement calls for service, such as found property, lost property, things like that. The department recruiting coordinator was established, and that has helped tremendously in our recruitment. We are very close to being full staffed. For the very first time since I've been here in 2015, we have more applications than open positions, which is a very good problem for us to have right now. And a lot of the applicants that we're receiving are all very high quality individuals that are not only going to help us fill those positions, but fill them with the right people. One of the things I asked our department recruiting coordinator to do is to improve upon our diversity with the agency, and he has done that with flying colors. So that's an added benefit. The homeless outreach officer, as you all know, Mike Delahaney, has been reassigned from a investigator position into the homeless outreach coordinator and has done a fabulous job in getting us where we need to be. I received a voicemail from an individual that had been a problem for us here in the city. We were able to relocate him, reunite him with his family in Michigan. He called us on Sunday night, early Monday morning, to thank us that he has been drug-free since he's had contact with us. He actually called back to find out who helped him in terms of the monetary means to relocate him, and he wants to pay those people back. We have the first ever that I'm aware of, certainly in this judicial circuit, but as I'm aware of in the state, where we as police officers petition the court for an ex parte hearing for an involuntary commitment order for an individual that has been a huge problem for us here. And normally that involuntary commitment ex parte hearing is petitioned by a family member or by a doctor. We were the first ones to do it for someone who has no family and has not been seeing a doctor. So that order was granted, and we're now assisting that individual. So we're doing a lot of outside-the-box things with our homeless outreach officer, providing some medical services that I'm going to expand upon at a point in the future. We're partnering with Advent Health, been meeting with them on a regular basis to provide both medical and mental health services for our disadvantaged community here in New Smyrna. We realigned the parking program to put that under the support services section. And the last part of what we were going to do in phase 2 is the behavioral health professionals that have been approved by you previously. We're moving toward filling those. I've tasked the deputy chief to work with Stuart Marshman Act to find the very best available healthcare professionals who can help us fill those positions. Those individuals will be primarily dealing with folks that are having mental health crises, but also dealing with the overlying problems of what we're seeing with both substance abuse, drug use, and with alcohol use as a problem which is based on mental health issues. So this will be, again, a unique thing that New Smyrna offers. But if you read the log that we do every day, twice a day, there's not a day that goes by that we're not dealing with a Baker Act, a Marshman Act, or a drug overdose. It happens every single day here in New Smyrna. So we're going to really address those problems as we see them as our demand for service. That brings me to tonight's item. What we're asking you to approve is 3 positions. Actually, 2 positions and a reclassification of 2 other positions. The first is a crime analyst. The crime analyst position, we have 1 crime analyst in place. We're asking for a second one. This particular crime analyst will be dedicated to doing our intelligence-led policing program, particularly with our mobile briefing and our mobile hotspots that we have. That's a living, breathing document that's updated multiple times throughout a shift, throughout the day, that tells us where our most prolific offenders are and what we're facing both here in New Smyrna and surrounding areas that affect what we have here in terms of crime, whether that be a shoplifting spree, burglars, thieves. These are the things we deal with every day, and whether it happens at Port Orange or Edgewater or Oak Hill, it affects us here in New Smyrna. So as I've said before, most of our crime here in New Smyrna is committed by a very small number of individuals. They're prolific offenders. They're repeat offenders. So what we do is we focus on those people as opposed to being more reactive and waiting for things to happen and then go investigate them and figure out what happened and then try to solve that crime retroactively. So the crime analyst position is very, very important to us in terms of being able to give our officers up-to-the-minute intelligence on who's causing our crimes and how we can best attack those. The other position is the administrative services manager. This position is critically important. Right now we have 2 lieutenants who are handling the bulk of our operational and support services functions. And I'm going to pick on the support services lieutenant because he happens to be sitting in the back tonight. Lieutenant Kirk is truly the postcard picture of a jack of all trades. I'm just going to read the things that Lieutenant Kirk does, and this is on a daily basis. He supervises our training program, our recruiting, our youth services. He has a sergeant that he supervises traffic, animal control. He supervises the parking supervisor. He handles the record staff, our quartermaster who makes sure we have all of our equipment that we need, orders and all that. Our evidence, our K-9, our public information, our drone program, our budget, our building maintenance, and our fleet. And this is just one lieutenant who handles all this. I can tell you I see him come in every single day, and he works basically nonstop until he goes home. And this is every single day. There's very little downtime in his life. On the other side, the operations lieutenant handles all of patrol investigations, the victim advocate, our intelligence, and our community services officers. So what we see in terms of Lieutenant Kirk and his responsibility, a lot of what he handles is civilian staff. So what we're asking for tonight is the approval of a, I keep forgetting the thing, administrative services manager who can come in and take some of those support services functions, particularly records, evidence, and some of those other things that'll kind of even out the responsibilities for mid-management to 3 different areas. If you look in your package, you'll see that we have a proposed org chart on there that is much more aligned with where we need to be. A much better span of control for that mid-management level. Finally, again, when you look at what the 2 lieutenants are doing and you look at the surrounding agencies, most of those agencies, if you look at the sheriff's office, they're chiefs and they're captains and they're majors and division commanders. And most any other agency around here do include Edgewater and Port Orange and Ormond and Daytona. Those are captain level and above people. So what we're asking for tonight is to reclassify those positions to what their job functions are, which is captain. That will open up what we proposed in the strategic plan for the rest of the agency so that we have operational people handling operational things, which are lieutenants, sergeants, corporals, and officers, and then the leadership, which would be captain, deputy chief, and chief of police. That's basically it in a nutshell. I did want to focus on one other thing. When we talk about the expansion of the police department and what the demand for service is, through the first quarter of this year in 2022, we responded 17,634 calls for service. That puts us well above the pace of where we were this past year. We had 64,779, I believe, calls. We'll be well over 70,000 if we keep up that pace. Through the first month of the second quarter, we're going to greatly exceed that number. So I expect there will be well over 70,000 calls for service a year. We're still doing that with, just over 2008 staffing here. So I would encourage you to look at that strategic plan as to where we want to go in years 3 and beyond. That's where we think that we need to be in order to handle the calls for service that we're experiencing now and what we expect to have in the future. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
So would Lieutenant Kirk would go to captain?
If he plays his cards right.
Okay. So potentially Captain Kirk?
Yeah.
Are we ready for that?
You would not believe the amount of conversation we had about this, whether he'd be Captain
saying.
Kirk or Commander Kirk, and there was some discussion about that.
I just don't know if we're ready for that as a city yet, but we can.
Well, we're going to go to different uniforms so that we can touch our badge and get beamed up.
So
I'll let you figure that out.
I think this should definitely be contingent upon Captain Kirk because
I agree with you.
All right, gentlemen, any comments on this item, or do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve.
Second the motion.
I just had a brief comment.
Go ahead.
You brought up Officer Delahanty, and I had an issue at my business a couple weeks ago. And I got to tell you, you know my opinion on this. I have a little patience when I have these people challenge my customers and my employees. And that's what this person did. So I was pretty hot. And Delahanty came in, and he walked in an unmarked vehicle. And he walked over, and he started talking to the guy, and he sat there for like 45 minutes talking to the guy. He got him talking. And I was so touched on what he did, I actually took a picture of it because it was so human what he did and how he did it, and he took the time. And so I just want to compliment you guys and Officer Delahanty and everything you're doing with that, because I got to watch firsthand how you take an individual who's having a bad day, not in a good place, and humanize that person. So, and even me, as hot as I was, I stayed away from the situation because if I went up to him, I know it would have ended badly. So, great job. Fantastic. And pass along my comments to Officer Delahanty. Great job he did on that.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that there's a misperception out there as to when we talk about homeless outreach, we are here to help those that want to be helped. And then those that don't want to be helped, that want to behave poorly in our city, there's nobody harder on them than Officer Mike Delahanty. He does everything he can to help someone, but then when they don't want help and they want to violate our laws and our ordinances, he will absolutely be on top of them. And that's borne out in multiple statistics that we have in terms of the number of arrests that we make. I think it's very important that we offer people a hand up, not a hand out. And he's done a fabulous job of that. I could not ask for any better from him.
Okay. Commissioner Clooney.
Chief, you've been very upfront with us about what your plans are. I know in the last couple of years, I've been very interested in addressing the homeless, both the help and the controlling. And you've done a very good job of that, and should all be commended. On these 4 or 5 particular things you're asking for now, it's not a surprise. We knew they were coming. I've heard your other presentations. Do you have unspent money in your budget positions to cover these, or do we have to wait till we do our budget next year to cover them?
So in the analysis that we've done so far is we have enough to cover them through October. And what we're asking for is to fill those positions immediately because we have a great need for them. These positions provide the support structure for anything that we do in the future. If you're asking if we have money in the budget to support these positions after October, the answer is no, sir.
No, that's fine. We'll deal with next year. We know it's coming. As long as you got the money available, I have no problem supporting it to be effective immediately.
Okay. We had a motion, we had a second, we had a strategic plan, we're executing it, and so.
Do we need to be specific in the motion as to when this takes effect?
I think the item before us was for the immediate recruitment and filling, so I think just the motion maker indicated, approving what was submitted, so I think was submitted as an immediate request, so.
Works for me.
But in addition to this dialogue, I think we've got enough support for that, so for clarity in the motion, it is an immediate effectiveness if approved, so a yes vote is approval of immediate effectiveness. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Been approved. Thank you, Chief. Thank you both, gentlemen. All right, item 8A was pulled. That will be considered later. Item 8B, second reading of public hearing, which would amend the appointed boards and ordinances for a number of absences. City Attorney, read this the second time by title only.
Ordinance number 1022, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Article 3, Section 2-86, automatic removal of appointed board members or commission members for failure to attend meeting to clarify the removal process, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Are you providing a report on this, or are you?
I can. I felt it necessary to update what we had a long time ago. It needed to be put into place to define the absences and the reasons for that, and that's in the ordinance that you see in front of you for the appointed boards and commissions. Something needed to be set in stone.
Got it. Any questions for staff on this item? All right, it's a public hearing. Any members of the public wish to comment on item 8B? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 10-22?
So moved.
Second.
No discussion. City Clerk?
Commissioner Clooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
That is adopted. 11-22 related to home-based businesses. City Attorney will read a second time.
Ordinance number 1122, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 8 supplementary regulations, Section 80106, home-based businesses based on updates to the Florida Statute 559955, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
All right. Bob, I think this was fairly self-explanatory, but do you have anything you need to clarify on that or cover?
Nothing I need to clarify unless you have any questions.
Any questions for staff on this item from the commission? Okay. All right, it's a public hearing. Any members of the public here on this item, 11-22? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 11-22?
Motion to adopt ordinance number 11-22.
Second.
Okay. We're okay? All right, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes, I appreciate the sound in the back room there. Can hear everything that's going on.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
11-22 is adopted. Did you have any comments, Commissioner Clooney? Sorry.
No.
All right. Ordinance 12-20. I figured you wouldn't have left right then if you did. 12-22, 8D. City Attorney to read this a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 1222, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201 general definitions, to add a definition for a place of assembly use, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 50402, specific regulations by district, MU mixed use central business district, to permit place of assembly as a special exception use, providing for codification, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay. Can we give a report on this one?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. So Cheryl Lorenz at 330 Canal Street, New Smyrna Beach, is requesting approval of an amendment to the city's land development regulation, adding place of assembly as a special exception use in the mixed use zoning district. Ms. Lorenz currently owns vacant property located at 201, 211, and 215 South Orange Street, all of which is zoned mixed use. Staff has met with Ms. Lorenz and her design team about a proposed event-type venue that she would like to develop within that property. During those meetings, staff informed her that she would have to construct a new building and parking lot to be used for different events, including possible weddings. So staff looked into the request, not only for the property at 201, 211, and 215 South Orange Street, but for all mixed-use zoning districts in the city. It would seem that there are many vacant parcels that are zoned to mixed use that are maybe too small to provide a required amount of parking, but if parcels were combined, then possibly the parking could be accomplished. This type of use may create a redevelopment opportunity for some property owners. Staff reviewed the required parking, procedures, staff site plan requirement, alcohol sales, and several other possible requirements. Staff also viewed the type of use that would be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Board and a final review and approval by the City Commission. After reviewing the possibility of an event venue or facility, staff came up with the following types of venue uses: art shows or exhibits, concert or theatrical play or musicals, dance studios, including instruction and competitions, weddings, or other public or private events. Staff also looked into the requirements and limits of a venue that came up with the following requirements. 1, parking. 1 parking spot for each 4 attendees shall be provided. Recorded or live music shall comply with Section 38-72 of the City Code. Appropriate site plan to be submitted and approved by the city's technical review staff per Article 11 of the City Land Development Regulation. Alcohol sales should be supplied and served by a state of Florida alcohol licensed caterer or a state of Florida special event alcohol permit. And then any proposed temporary parking lot would have to be approved by a separate application to the City Commission after reviewed by the city engineer. So at its regular scheduled meeting back on March the 7th, the Planning and Zoning Board voted 6-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the request to include place of assembly as a special exception use in the mixed-use zoning district. One request by that board was to actually insert a definition for a place of assembly. Staff recommended that the City Commission approve the proposed addition to the land development regulation, creating a special exception use, a place of assembly, and a definition as shown as Exhibit A through D. And that's the staff report, subject to any questions the board may have.
Okay. Any questions for Bob at this time? Robert?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
So Bob, we're essentially creating a special exception in all of the mixed-use areas of the city for one property owner.
The property owner is it's a private application, so they paid the application fees to come before this commission. They're requesting us to list places of assembly with certain requirements or restrictions as a special exception use under the mixed-use zoning district.
Yes.
It's kind of similar to what we did for the the I-1 industrial
Yes.
zoning district.
And that is my concern. This commission approved a special exception for the assembly in I-1, and it was a text amendment, so it was throughout the city in every portion. And the key word that you said just now was redevelopment. And redevelopment concerns me for our small city. And so I am not so sure that I can support it. That's
And
my
I believe the applicant's here tonight to also answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a public hearing, so we'll get to that. Let's get any other staff or questions from the commission for our staff. Any other questions of Bob? Commissioner Clody?
Does this one particular property happen to fall in the Arts District?
It does fall in the Arts Overlay District.
Thank you.
So I was going down that similar vein, so it sounds like you and I are on the same page. So what does that mean for, we have parking requirements in, but then there's other parking requirements that then trump these, right? Or no? And I'm looking at you, but it sounds like Carrie's trying to jump in too, so I'll let her talk.
So for the special exception, one of the requirements is 1 parking space per every 4 attendees shall be provided. Reductions or waivers of parking requirements are prohibited for properties located in a special parking district or overlay district unless approved by the city commission. So it doesn't matter that they're in the arts overlay unless you all waive that.
Okay.
No, it's, if I might,
Sure, yeah.
it's an issue where parking always comes up. If it's in the Arts District, maybe they don't have to provide it, maybe they do. But this is special exception throughout mixed use, so it could apply elsewhere. So I don't see it as being a negative effect on this particular application, because as I look at it over the overall effect, I have no problem. We have so many places of assembly throughout our town, there's no reason they can't be in the mixed-use district.
Okay. Any other questions, staff? Bob, I had one before you go.
Sure.
So I guess, make sure I understand, they came forward wanting it specifically for the 3 properties mentioned. The applicant came forward for 201, 211, 215. If this, I don't know where the commission is yet, but if this doesn't go through, is there another avenue or process that could be followed for just those specific 3 policies? Couldn't that be done via a variance or some other that wouldn't apply to every other mixed use and would just be approving it in this particular case? Is there an avenue for that, or did we have to go this route of, kind of all or nothing, if you will? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so when staff looked at and sat down with them, we did not see where there was a permitted use for this type of business in a mixed use. So we told them they were going to have to add that use. Staff looked at it and said we'd prefer it to be a special exception so that way notifications can go out and a public hearing could be heard for this type of business, because it could be a pretty large scale assembly. Maybe not this application, but maybe the next one. So we didn't want to use this as a permitted use where it'd be a staff approval only. We wanted it to actually be able to the point where there'd be notification sent out and a public body would make a final determination.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question is, we've gotten, we've had some fun, I'll say, with a previous special exception recently where they met all the criteria. We determined we didn't want that in that particular place. And, a judge had to sort that out for us, and we unfortunately didn't come out on the positive end of that, depending on your perspective, I guess. I guess my hesitancy is putting this in and kind of putting some future commission or this commission in a spot where they you know, I haven't examined every possible place where this could apply. And there may be places where they can check all these boxes, but it's a terrible idea. And everyone but that property owner may agree with that. Not this property owner, I'm saying some future one that we haven't done yet. I mean, there's a lot of mixed use place. So, you know, I don't want to back us into a corner where, hey, we've met all these special exception requirements. There's no reason we shouldn't be approved for this. But it's a situation like we're dealing with where, look, it's 10 years later. Things have changed. This is a terrible idea. No one should be forced to do this. And yet we're back into a borrow pit situation. So I don't know if you have an answer for that, or just I'm sharing it, I guess maybe more as a concern, or is there a way we can write ourselves out of that where we're not putting ourselves in that spot again?
Well,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, about going to court, I can't really answer that. That's not my expertise. So, but there's three choices when it comes to a use in the city. It's either permitted use, which is something that's approved by staff. We look and say, yep, you're a permitted use, site plan, whatever is required after that. There's a conditional use, which means that use has to be approved by the director. So it still goes to a staff, but it goes to an executive more position to make an approval. Or you have your special exception where it goes to a public body, and this body here makes the final determination. So that's our three choices, and so we felt this is the hardest route to go for an actual applicant. And also, if you're a neighboring property, it's the only way that you're going to get notified that this may happen next door to you.
I guess what I'm saying, maybe a question for city attorney, not to put you on the spot, is could we add some criteria? I mean, so the last time we went through this, one of the criteria was, you know, the health and well-being, if, you know, some very kind of nebulous criteria. Could we add a criteria that was just, you know, basically it's at the discretion of the commission? Like, can we not just add that as a criteria to say, look, we're okay with considering this. You don't have to necessarily go through this process. It is a special exceptive use, but we're still going to leave the power with this board to be able to say no if they choose to say no. And again, I'm not talking necessarily about what's before us tonight. I'm talking about fast forward to the next one that comes before us.
Right. So once you grant or legislate for a special exception use, you're going to have a hard time walking it back.
Yeah.
And so you can't really legislate of if I feel like it, that kind of thing. But if it were 2 acres, it could be rezoned to PUD, and they could ask for a use that's not permitted in the district. But normally you would use a PUD for, you know, I've got a good project, but I need a couple waivers from setbacks or things like that. And that whatever the waiver is makes it a better project. So I don't know that you would necessarily want to do it via the PUD route.
Okay. All right, well, I've asked my question. So let's hear from the public. Thank you, Bob. We'll hear from the public now. So any members of the public wish to comment on this item? The public hearing is open. And this is your chance to speak. Joe, come ahead.
Yeah, Joe Dluback, Casalta Circle again. I heard the word parking, and in fact, it looks like it's 9B on the agenda. There is a parking study that's been done, and I'd like to see that be the standard by which all parking within the city gets approved, rather than you approving this on 1 per 10, whatever, and then having to come back and change it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. The other is Lisa.
I'm just going to ask for consistency as we move forward. Rather than talk about seats, talk about square feet. And I think that we should be not reverting and just should be going forward with consistency. Thank you.
Thank you. The others for this item? All right. If not, we will close the public hearing. What's the commission's pleasure?
Motion to approve ordinance 12-22.
Second.
Any other discussion? If none, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
No.
Mayor Owen?
I'm a no. But it's adopted anyway. 1222 is adopted. Item 8, E, F, and G are related to Pioneer Trail. City Attorney will read these all together, and then we'll go through the legislative process for that.
Ordinance number 1422, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach, .29 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Pioneer Trail between North Glencoe Road and Bridget Street, addressed as 2476 Pioneer Trail, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 3, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 1522, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of 2.29 plus or minus acres of land located on the south side of Pioneer Trail between North Glencoe Road and Bridget Street, addressed as 2476 Pioneer Trail from Volusia County urban low intensity to city low density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 1622, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .29 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Pioneer Trail between North Glencoe Road and Bridget Street, addressed as 2476 Pioneer Trail from Volusia County B4A General Commercial Airport Overlay to City R2A Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Was that all three?
Yep.
Okay, I zoned out there for a minute. Okay, City Commission will now conduct the second reading and quasi-judicial hearing. Mr. Mathis, this is pretty much a straight-up annexation. Any special comments on this one?
I do have one comment for you. This application came before us because the owner wanted to build a single-family house, and they found out that their zoning was County B4, which is a commercial district. So they annexed into the city, and we're going to put them at R2, just like their next-door neighbor, so they can build their single-family house. So we was able to get a new resident because he couldn't build a house in the county, and the county wouldn't change their zoning. So we told him, we'll annex you in, we'll change it, you can build your house.
Okay.
So it's a down zone.
Yeah. Okay. All right, any questions of Bob on his testimony? If not, if the applicant is present and would like to make a witness, this is your chance. Not necessary, but okay, seeing none. It's a public hearing, so any members of the public wish to comment on this one? Seeing none for this particular item. All right. Is there a motion? So gentlemen, we need three different motions. Ordinance number 14-22. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I'll take the second from Commissioner Sacks. City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
Yes,
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 15-22?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second.
Thank you. City Clerk.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
Yes,
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
And finally, 16-22. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion too.
And I'll second as well.
Motion to approve and a second. City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Sacks.
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi.
Yes,
Commissioner Hartman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk.
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you to that applicant. Welcome to the city. Next item is 17, 18, and 19-22. City Attorney.
Ordinance number 1722, an ordinance annexing into the City of New Smyrna Beach .46 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Enterprise Avenue between Cherry Street and Spruce Street, addressed as 1506 Enterprise Avenue, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 1, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 1822, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .46 plus or minus acres of land located on the south street of Enterprise Avenue between Cherry Street and Spruce Street, addressed as 1506 Enterprise Avenue from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Ordinance number 1922, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .46 plus or minus acres of property located on the south side of Enterprise Avenue between Cherry Street and Spruce Street. Address is 1506 Enterprise Avenue from Volusia County R4A Urban Single Family Residential Airport Overlay to City R2A Single Family Residential Airport Overlay Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Bob, anything on this one?
I have no special instructions, or it's just a regular annexation that you're normally seeing.
Okay, it's a public hearing. Any members of the public or the applicant wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, thank you. We'll close that. Gentlemen, we need 3 motions again. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 17-22?
Motion. So move. Second.
Okay, thank you. City Clerk, can you call the roll?
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to adopt ordinance 18-22.
Motion to adopt ordinance 18-22.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
And finally, motion to adopt ordinance 19-22.
Motion to adopt ordinance 19-22.
Second.
City Clerk?
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. That's done. Another person annexed in. Item 9A was pulled till May 10th meeting. Item 9B and C, these are first readings. City Attorney, if you would proceed with those.
Ordinance number 2022, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 6, Development, Design, and Improvement Standards, Section 60409, subsection F, minimum number of parking spaces required to revise the number of method of calculation for restaurants, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be May 10th, 2022.
Carrie, hang on.
I would like to comment on that.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I know we don't usually comment on first reading, but I think this is very important. This is the third time in recent memory we've had a parking issue come up, which creates a lot of heartburn with me. And the heartburn that it creates is we keep bringing parking issues, parking regulations forward with what I believe is we don't understand what we're actually bringing forward. I can start with the fact that there's no definition for a patron area that I have found. So how can you begin to start understanding the calculations if there's no definition of patron area? This does not just include the building. This is not just the square footage inside a building. Clearly, patron area. We don't know what businesses will be affected negatively by this 75 square foot requirement or threshold. We don't know what property owners are going to be affected negatively. We don't know which businesses are going to be affected. And then some businesses that may not be affected right now, for example, the ones in the arts overlay, can then be affected negatively once we adjust the arts overlay. So this is, to me, the proverbial rock in the pond. It sounds like a really good idea, throwing the rock right here, but we're not understanding what the ripple effect is throughout the entire pond. My question is, and I'll leave it at this, how many unconforming uses are we going to create with the adoption of any of these parking requirements that have gone forward that I have expressed tremendous concern with? This is the third time that I'm going to say in the last couple months that I think that the property owners, who are the stakeholders, need to be vetted. We need to do a much more comprehensive understanding of exactly how these changes in parking are going to negatively affect the businesses currently and going forward. But they keep coming forward without any of that being done yet. So I will tell you that I am very uncomfortable with moving this to a second reading when I can start with, we don't even know what a patron area is. And we have no understanding of how this is going to affect the existing businesses in the community. So I don't understand how this keeps, I'm going to put mildly that I have heartburn over this, because this is the third time in roughly 2 months that I've felt that I have to speak up against what staff is bringing us forward, because I think that we're not understanding what we're bringing forward. So, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. So, before we go to discussion, just for Carrie, quick question. So what, if there were others that shared the concern and we wanted to delay this conversation, because I know we just at the meeting I missed, there was another one that came forward that, so what is the right way to handle that right now tonight? Not saying we're going to do it, just what is that process?
I would recommend finding out if staff would like to withdraw this item, or if you guys would like it voted up or down, or whether you want to request bringing it back for first reading in X number of months. You have a few different options.
I'm just saying, I'm going to go down the road here in a minute and see if, who all is, where we're at on this, but if multiple people say, yeah, we feel like we need a little more time, is it as easy as having you change that date that you just read and say it's going to come back in August, or is it a more complicated process?
We could vote it down on first reading and then just bring it back at a later time when you guys may be ready to.
Okay.
It's easy to address, just let's hear the comments.
Let's see where we're at. Okay. Any other comments on this item, since we've opened it up, and it is it has been a hot button issue, so we normally don't discuss first readings, but Commissioner Clody.
Changing such a basic idea from number of seats to floor area is an explosive issue, to say the least, because we have so many businesses and everything that would be affected. Don't know whether I support it or don't support it, but I'm willing to put it off because I don't think we have enough information.
Okay.
I'm afraid that if it went to second reading, I would have so many questions that it would just be putting it off again.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to add to that?
Well, I don't know if it reflects the Vice Mayor's comments, but it boils down to the same thing for me. We only have a finite amount of parking. And with overlays and everything we want to do to try to contrive access for even larger venues that are coming. I'm concerned about the smaller ones that are there already. We can't, if we don't find a source for new and more parking, all this conversation is almost moot. I mean, it's like first come, first serve. You get a spot and you go to Yellow Dog, or you go to Cork and Screw.
Well, I don't disagree with that, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we adopt this, does that grandfather existing, and the only thing it would apply to is new uses?
Yeah, existing uses would be legal non-conformings. The issue would be if they want to expand, they wouldn't be able to. So you can't expand a non-conformity.
I'd like some clarification on the word grandfathering. I'm not sure the word exists. It's misunderstood. I think the key, what city attorney was saying was, you become a non-conforming use, which means you can continue what you're doing.
Right.
But if you want to sell your business, or you want to do anything that requires a site plan, and there's another of other triggers, you then have to meet the existing criteria. So there's no grandfathering where you get to just, you're good to go. And obviously, you can assume any business is going to be sold, transferred, or anything at some point. And all I'm saying is, we just need to understand what would happen to specific businesses before we agree to it. We have to know that.
So this item came up during a workshop, and we spent several hours in a workshop talking about parking and parking restrictions, and we directed staff to look into it. We've hired a professional consultant to do that. Staff has adjusted that to be more of a friendlier thing than what the consultant said, and now we're telling them, we don't want to listen to what you did. We don't, I'm just confused as to why did we spend all that time and money when we really didn't want to deal with parking issues? Or is there another way that we should go about this? Should it come back as another workshop so that we all can get a better understanding of these things before it actually goes to ordinance?
All I'm asking is that we understand
Yeah.
what the impact of the decision means. That's all.
I agree.
Yeah, I think valid point. So first of all, because I'm in the same camp as Commissioner Colodi, Vice Mayor, and you didn't really exactly say, I don't think, and if you did, I missed it. But so there's at least three of us. So if you can be thinking through how we go from here, because I'm in that same camp of, so to your point though, I'm not content to do nothing. And so this came out of a workshop where we said kind of, yes, something has to be done. And to staff's credit, they've done something. And yet I feel like then our job becomes now we have to filter this back through us and the community and make sure, do we understand exactly, to the Vice Mayor's point, do we understand exactly how, is this going to solve the problem? Is this going to create 1,000 worse problems? Right. And this is just the work process. I mean, I do this every day in all my other jobs. Like you think you solved a problem, now you got to vet it through, and you have other people give some opinions and say, what about that? Let's beat it up a little bit. So we're at that point. I've contended for a while. I don't like how we're structured, but changing some rule doesn't magically solve the parking problem. My focus has been, let's try to have it not get worse. Let's not compound and build on its where we're at now, if at all possible. But then let's also bring some other solutions to the table. Like if we created a parking fund that's we're going to use and earmark to create some parking, or is the business community doing that? Like who's doing that? So I think there is a bigger picture conversation. So I'm with Commissioner Colodi. If it comes back for a second reading, I can't support it. There's just a million unknowns between now and then. So I think we need some direction from you all what the best approach is to punt this a little bit, give us time to digest it, understand, talk with staff a little bit, talk to the community, the business community, the resident community. There's some valid points.
I would recommend denying at this point, and would request that the commission consider this policy, that no future parking amendment legislation come before this body unless an impact statement comes with that in terms of what is the impact to the business community, and not just the public hearings that we hold when we have these before P&Z, that on the street meetings with the Chamber of Commerce and key affected businesses regarding the legislation be had before we bring these back to this body.
And the approach to me on that is you take one or two, just pick them out of a hat, but take 3 or 4 and say, okay, we took a use case of this business and here's the potential impact to this business. And not favoring one over the other, pick them out of a hat at random, but just so we understand in this instance, here's how it would affect this very real business that we can all wrap our head around. And we don't have to do that here. We can do that at another workshop. So I like that. I like that approach. So we don't normally vote on first reading. So is what you're saying, is that okay for us to do, to vote to reject this, or how does that work?
I think Mr. Colodi has a comment, and then I'll weigh in on the...
Well, just listening to the discussion, what this ordinance does, the main part of the ordinance, is it changes how you calculate the number of seats required in a restaurant.
Right.
To square footage, from number of seats. And honestly, that doesn't affect any of our real parking needs, how we solve those problems at all. It's just a mathematical calculation. It's going to make some restaurants better and some worse. And I don't think by taking a poll of every restaurant and asking their opinion on how it would be, I think we know how the answer will be. If it makes me need more parking spaces, I don't like it. Whether that really does service to the municipality or not, I don't know. So I would put it off between now and the second reading if we have one. I'll do my analysis the same time I did the last time this came up, which resulted in it being turned down. But we do have to look at the overall picture. This is not the overall picture. This is two specific items is what it is.
I agree with that.
So my recommendation would be for staff to withdraw the item.
Okay, let me ask you, okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just a question for Vice Mayor. You had misgivings about the item, and I brought up parking. You said it wasn't relative. What are the points that, so it's clear to me,
Okay.
what are your misgivings?
I'll give you a quick example of what can happen.
Please.
Take a restaurant that has a big seating area inside and then a big outdoor seating area. Outdoor seating areas are spread out amongst the property. You would now have to count not only the inside of the restaurant, but all of the outside of the restaurant. So if they had large patio areas, that would require many more parking spaces than are already existing. So just one of my concerns is the existing restaurant, which is open and operating, when you create the new calculations, would require, let's say, double the amount of parking they already have. But they can't get any more parking. They're already built out on whatever property. That property now gets to continue as it is, but it's a non-conforming use, which means if you try to sell the business, if you try to transfer the business to a family member, or if you do anything to the business which requires any kind of site plan, like changing around seating or moving some walls around within, that would trigger, you would have to meet the conforming use, which means it can't do that. The business would either never be sold, never be transferred, couldn't upgrade or move. So that's a quick snapshot of how to understand just one of the
I
problems.
got your point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a good example, and a few restaurants pop to mind. I mean, you know, there's one right down on Riverside that has that huge outdoor area. I mean, that could trigger a need for a massive amount of parking based on that, but it's a very spread out. So it's a nuanced issue. This patron area definition, if nothing else, is we've got to define that patron area because we could all five probably define it differently right now. So, all right.
Staff will withdraw.
Staff has withdrawn item 9B. That will come back after some work. Yes, sir. Thank you. Carrie, you're content? We're good?
Yep.
No further action needed?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. Item 9C.
Ordinance number 2122, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach designating the Jesse Stevenson Kovalenko Memorial Gymnasium located at 1000 Live Oak Street as a historic landmark in the City of New Smyrna Beach, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be May 10th, 2022.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
So we're not only designating it as a landmark, but we're also naming it.
No, that's the name of that's the current name of the gym.
Okay.
Back in 1950s.
Okay.
Yeah, it says we're designating that status to the Jesse Stevenson Kovalenko Memorial Gym. I've never heard that name, I'll be honest, though.
No,
So
I
it's
remember
been
there
the
was
city
talk.
gym.
I think when you look at above the steps, you'll see the Kovalenko.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Maybe we need to make it bigger.
I've walked through those doors 1,000 times in my life, and I've never
Yeah,
seen
it blends in, but if you look right under that awning, it says it.
Okay.
All right, now I gotta go look. Site photos. Okay. Boards and commissions, nothing, Kelly? Mayor and commission reports. We'll begin with the vice mayor.
Thank you. In keeping with how well the meeting has flowed today, I'll keep it light. I just wanted to, I want to bring up this Venetian Bay issue that Joe brings up. That bothers me. In other words, I think that we need to get involved. I'm concerned at least the evidence that I've seen so far leads me to believe that what Joe's saying is significantly accurate. And if we have developers who are being that crass and arrogant, that concerns me tremendously. And I certainly would like to see what we can do to figure out how we can fix that situation. And I'm not directing staff, I'm talking to my commission saying, to so arrogantly give this little nondescript little office space as some sort of justification for the community center gathering place for a community that large is pretty ridiculous. So anyway, just wanted to give my thoughts on that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Commissioner Hartman.
So I wanted to add to that because what I think we need to know is does staff agree that they've met that requirement? Because if it hasn't, they don't feel that it's been met, then certainly we need to address that issue however we need to address it. But I don't think staff has determined that that meets the requirement of the MDA, but I don't want to speak for them.
Yeah.
So I think that would be the next step going forward with that particular thing.
Do you want to pause and see about Bob adjusting that, or do you want to wait and maybe have them come back to us?
I don't know. I think Jeff is more involved in, do you know?
Bob, do you know enough to speak to that, or I don't want to put you on the spot, so it's okay to say, no, I'd rather have so-and-so speak to it. All right, now you're on the spot. I can't help you.
Jeff Gove is more knowledgeable, but I do not believe staff thinks that they're meeting the criteria that they legally are saying that they are. So.
Okay, all right. So then we can go forward with that discussion then, is that, however we deal with that. How would we deal with that?
If the staff can analyze and make a conclusion that yes or no, they don't comply with the terms of the agreement, then staff can determine and bring specific courses of action to the commission to determine which routes you wish to take.
Okay. All right. So thank you for bringing that up. The other thing on my list was that we attended the Peninsula Riverside Drive workshop to deal with the intersection. And one of the questions that kept coming up and coming up and coming up is, what are we going to do with the building at 120 Flagler? So, gentlemen, I'd like to know, what are we going to do with the building at 120 Flagler? We're talking, there's been several other options out there. I think this time the consensus was they were going to take passive action with the signaling devices for a while to see if that improves the intersection. But certainly, that building still needs to be addressed. Are we going to sell it, tear it down, move it? I think that we need to have that discussion at some point in time to resolve that issue once and for all. We're talking about increasing some staffing in next budget year, but if we're lacking in office space, it's going to create more problems down the road. One of the other things that's on the development agreement is the parking lot next door. If the intended use, our intended use is to move the building, then do we go forward with the parking lot design? So, I think we need to have that conversation, and I think put that item to rest, one way or the other. So I would encourage us, at some point in time, make that the next workshop or a short meeting, or somehow, the sooner the better to resolve the issue. Or if you want to do it tonight, I'm happy to do that.
But I guess my first question is, if we're not going to do the intersection improvement, maybe we put the whole thing back on the market again. I just don't know where that discussion has gone. So I agree with you, but if we decide to move the building and then we don't do the improvements, maybe, so I agree, but where are we at with the actual intersection too?
Well, the intersection design had nothing to do with the building. It was just using the right-of-way. Yeah. So it had nothing to do with the building itself.
Yeah.
So, that's the elephant in the room. So.
Yeah. So, if you're okay with, you want to run down the line just real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So my thoughts are, we control the intersection for now. I would like to see us maintain that. I'd look to staff to say, do we have place, do we have departments we could strategically place there that make any sense? Or could we go to the market and put it up for lease on the market to something like the Visitors Bureau that has indicated, I believe, a desire to be maybe somewhere else, maybe not, I'm not putting them on the spot,
Right.
but some organization like that that may have a civic purpose, or maybe it's just pure commercial, and we contract with someone. I would prefer it not to be the person that sold us the building, just so there's no appearances of whatever, unless they agreed to do it for no commission. We contract with someone, say, give us rent this out, get us a commercial rate, and we move on. And that way we maintain control of that for whatever the future is. I'm okay, I'll say it again, I'm okay owning beachside property in New Smyrna Beach. We're not gonna lose. Over 10 years, we will not lose on that property. It may dip a little bit, it may go up or down, but we're not gonna lose long term. So I don't know why we would get rid of it when we own it. What I don't wanna do though, I will tell you this, what I don't wanna do is see that become supplementary parking to the new restaurant that's open next door. I don't wanna buy that restaurant a parking place.
No.
So, and that's what it's gonna be. If we do nothing as it is right now, it's gonna be public parking. We've supplemented that restaurant out of my tax dollar, and I'm not okay with that. So that's where I'm at on it. And so, other comments on the building? Move it, keep it, sell it, demo it.
I'd like to not be in a terrible hurry, hopefully fast enough, though, to beat the termites. I understand from a lot of principals, Cornerstone folks, people like us in the community, that really highly value that intersection and that building especially. I've had a few people tell me that it has some, being in the historic district, it does have some historic value. My first thought was, let's keep it for public use. It's a big, wide open building. Perhaps the Women's Arts Center or other venues could use it. Why hurry? We own the property, we own the building. I'm open to a lot of thoughts about it. I'm not so keen on moving it because then you destroy the character of that really nice intersection. So I welcome further discussions on that
So
building.
keep it and you're open to some uses,
Yes.
is what I'm hearing. All right, Commissioner Clutie.
Well, the property was purchased because of the likelihood it might affect the improvement of that intersection. Consultant has come up with a conceptual plan which will not require the use of that property except for some easements for maybe curb returns, so on and so forth. Once we have made a final decision on the improvement of the intersection, I also attended the meeting that was held down there, listened to the presentation. And other than a small group of close by residents, a lot of people, especially those north on Peninsula, felt we really got to do a traffic improvement to get in and out of town safely. So I'm sure we're going to move ahead. There was some ideas about how to phase the traffic once the turn lanes were put in that our consultant is exploring right now. My own feelings on it are that the building can stay where it is, can be moved on the property to make it more appealing, but it is a historic building in a historic zone, and it should stay. I firmly believe it should be put back into private hands. It should be sold once we decide on the improvement and how best to maximize our investment there. It would be in addition to the, it would maintain our historic neighborhood. So that's my position on it. I think we're moving ahead. I'd like to see it quicker, of course, but it's not my zone anymore. And I have some very strong issues in my zones.
All right, so I think I heard figure out what we're doing with the intersection, but then eventually sell it. Don't sell it, but don't do anything too quickly. I say keep it, and he dodged the question, so I don't know. What do you got?
Mr. Mayor?
I thought I answered it.
No, I'm just giving you a hard time.
Mr. Mayor, if I could add quickly, I think what came out of that meeting was a very good idea. There's been talk for so long about phasing lights on 44.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it happen yet. DOT works in snail time. No offense to DOT, but it may be a multi-million-dollar project, I don't know. But Flagler and Peninsula may not be If we could use algorithms, new ways of phasing, include pedestrian safety in there, you could get those lights phased to make traffic move a little better, possibly even better than adding turn lanes.
Yeah.
So I'd like to keep ourselves open to options. My fear is, though, if we sell it, will the buyer just destroy it for the land, and then we lose the
Yeah, that's-
historic value?
Yeah, okay.
So
I mean, I think there's a lot of unknowns until we kind of know on the intersection. I heard that was a common theme, and to Vice Mayor, that was what he said. I was just giving. It's late, gentlemen. I'm tired. So
I was only teasing.
so I don't know if that helps you at all.
Not necessarily, because, I mean, it's a very, we're using it for storage. It's a very expensive storage unit.
I hear you. We could have it for lease tomorrow.
So certainly, I think, if we're not moving forward with the intersection, then we should certainly need to put it on the market and lease it.
Even if we are, it'll be a year before we turn gravel on that site.
Oh, yes.
So we could lease it for a year or more. I mean, which nobody wants to lease for a year, but I'm saying we could easily put a 2 or 3 year contract in place, so.
So if staff could bring back some options, either as to leasing the building out or using it internally as office space?
Well, I just turned to the chief and mouthed the words police substation to him, and he nodded his head yes. So.
Yes or no? I think we've had that discussion. I think during spring break that came up a few times, and the comment then was, I mean, they're mobile. I mean, they're out there. They don't need a substation. I mean, there may be times where we need an extra space, but I think the comment at the time was they're mobile. They're not necessarily needing space. But if I would say we're going to punt this to staff, come back to us. You've heard what the commission's comments were. We just saw some new positions. They've just added some new positions. If there's a usage internally, fine. If not, look for some commercial use. Give us some options.
I've
Put
had
it on
2
our agenda.
department heads hit me up today about that building.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
Still your time, Commissioner Herman.
Thanks. That was it.
All right, Commissioner Clody.
Nothing of burning importance, but some suggestions. First, a question about PUDs. Is there anything in the PUDs that we write that says there has to be a final sign-off that they've met all the conditions?
There does not.
There should be. That's my recommendation when we revise these standards, that we have a sign-off at that point. So when issues like this come up, we have a little leverage, whether we make them put up $1 million bond or something like that, that we should do. Second thing pertains also to the west side of town. I've asked our staff to look into, I've asked our manager to look into contact with the school board as to whether they're ever going to use the tract of land they have in Venetian Bay. And if they don't have any use for it or need for it, I think it should be transferred to us, or we should buy it or do whatever and use it for recreation. We would get a chunk of land out there. And we should approach the Utility Commission to see if they're amenable to adding something like that into their 100 acres out there. A task for staff. Second thing I would like, the AOB site. I hate that name because it was never an AOB site, it was a sewer plant. So we should either start calling it the sewer plant site or come up with a new name for it. So
You weren't in marketing. You weren't in marketing, were you?
Say again?
Let's see, you weren't in marketing, were you?
No.
You know what happens when you get it? You don't get to pick your nickname. You just hope it's a good one. This one didn't get a good.
I am opposed to anything being named for anybody, just in general.
I have a comment on that. I'll wait till my time and I'll let you finish, but thank you for reminding me.
Okay, we should change that. And second of all, we had allocated some funds a long time ago to try to improve parking along the beach side, my former zone. And one of the ideas was to put in a big overhead sign on 44. Residents have asked for it any number of times. Yep. The staff has sort of looked into it and said it's very hard to do. Yet, I was going down, I think it was Route 10, when they were having, Route 4, not Route 10, when they were having a big event in Daytona. And on their sign, the overhead traffic sign, they were given directions regarding the local events. So I think they got to start cooperating with us more. And I think we should just push on that. We have funds for it. We actually have an easement out there, which is a little bit out of the way, that was dedicated in one of the previous PUDs. But I would like to see some action on that. Last thing I have to say is we sold 2620 on North Dixie Freeway. We accumulated a lot of cash. I would like to see that cash put into finalizing the move of building and grounds out of Smith Street over to Industrial, which we have authorized to be done, but I would like that to be a funding source. And we got a notification from the city manager that we could use a bigger fuel tank at the maintenance facility. We've talked about solar on that roof. I would like to see that money dedicated to building a first-class facility out there. We got 3 main functions going on right now, not including the airport, and we should really make it a first-class facility out there, including an air conditioner on top of the police department, which I understand is a little questionable these days. So, although it encourages the police to get out in the fresh air, but one way or the other, I would like to see us put some capital into that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 3 items of import, and the first item I want to thank Khaled and Ron and Carrie as well for your help with a very gentle lady on Schoolway. She was cited for having a little bit too much driveway and for putting in a sidewalk, I think, without a permit. She is in a bad way right now. She has mobility problems, and she would like to get this issue settled. Staff appears to be willing to work with her, and I really appreciate that. Maybe they can find a way that she can be comfortable and be able to gain access to her house. I understand that she had a little too much impervious surface in the front, but yet she needed a new sidewalk to get to her front door. So I appreciate your willingness to work with her, and hopefully our planning staff and code enforcement as well can settle this matter. I had requested and sent a copy of Winter Park's Urban Tree Program to Khaled for his review. It doesn't seem too onerous, doesn't seem to be in the weeds in the legal area, and Rand, you might know about it. You're from the Winter Park area. If it's something of worth that we could adopt and keep as a tool in our belt to help protect our trees, that would be a good thing all around. And I think it's meant mostly for urban public spaces. Ironically, the strange thing is Winter Park is now having trouble with their live oak trees. They've reached the near end of their life. So now they have to decide what good they can do to create that canopy, that life-giving force to their beautiful city, and ours as well. You know, how much I value our trees. I think a lot of people do. Something very important, and I hope we can come together with collegiality and some kind of compromise for Saxon Drive. You know, living there for almost 22 years now, we've watched Saxon progress from a sleepy little local road to a thoroughfare. It's a cut-through, a thoroughfare, very much traffic. You can tell by the traffic that stacks up at the light at Saxon and 3rd. It is so dangerous. I actually watched a video, Kelly may have a copy of it. The person didn't see the cars stacked up. He had a trailer and a boat behind him, had to slam on the brakes. The boat and trailer left the vehicle. The problem especially is the fact that the multi-use trail is so close in many areas on Saxon, all the way down to South Atlantic, where it joins up again to the south of us. It is a terribly dangerous road, and nobody realizes it, but yet almost every year, the residents who live along Saxon discuss the dangerous nature of that road. It's confined by line of sight. It's confined by its size. The fact now that we have many delivery vehicles there with double yellow lines, there is no passing. We have the interface between low-speed vehicles and people in their autos who want to drive fast. They don't do 35 miles an hour on that road. It's very rare. When the county had the road, they did traffic studies. They did say that it did not meet any warrants, yet they were very willing to give us signalized crosswalks. So that kind of tells me something. And it speaks to the 85 percentile, which to me is an antiquated scientific method of determining road speed. When I was on the CAC, to the TPO, that's the Citizens Advisory Committee, to Transportation Planning, we had discussed the 85 percentile. And I said, what does the 85 percentile do? And FDOT folks said it's meant to move cars. And you understand, they want to move cars fast. They want to move them to the beach fast and move them off fast. Well, they never took into consideration the new modes of transportation, which is bipedal, walking, and bicycles. We have the multi-use trail on Saxon. It is so close to the road that you cannot tell the difference in some areas where one ends and one begins. They're that close. Now, to speak from lowering from 35 to 30, the old evidence, the old paradigms are getting thrown out the door. You can go on Google and see differing evidence that says, oh no, lowering speeds does nothing, it makes people go fast. And then other, not anecdotal, but real evidence says that lowering speeds actually does, over time, benefit and make people safer. The road is now constrained, there's more homes. God, and when they build those 77 townhomes, who knows what we're gonna have for traffic. And people just disregard the pedestrians to the point where it's obnoxious and dangerous. As my wife had testified tonight, and she spearheaded and worked with a lot of neighbors are very, very adamant about it, and that's why they signed her petition to change the nature of this road. And the simplest thing we can do is lower it. We have that purview. I would hate for us to get into another speed study because that involves spending more money for something we already know is a problem. So I don't know how to proceed. I'm not going to ask for a motion now at this point because it's not, we've deemed it not proper. But if I could get some feedback tonight, if we could take it to staff to consider, Khalid perhaps, and Kyle could go out and look at the road and see if it's warranted. I definitely think it is warranted. You know, I don't want to belabor it, but you wouldn't believe the traffic and the dangerous vehicles and what is going on Saxon lately. It's bad. So we can improve it by a small percentage, and that's by lowering it from 35 to 30.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
All right. So for feedback on that, I think we just approved the ISBA, but it doesn't go into effect yet, right? Like, when do we actually control Saxon?
I think now.
Or has it already gone into effect?
So I had focused on when the code enforcement transferred, so I'll have to look that date up. The code enforcement goes back to them June 20th. There's a delay.
Okay.
But I can't answer that off the top of my head.
So from the I won't speak for the rest of the commission, but I think I recall from last time, we all pretty much said the same thing. The question is right now, or I don't know yet whether we have the power to do it. So once I know we have the power to do it, then I think we can talk about, okay, what's the process? I heard the 165 people that signed the petition. So I think that's the first question of staff is, when is the effective date of this so that we have that power? Because what I don't want to put this commission spot is we approve something or go through the process even, and then it really comes out that, that's not effective. But it is imminent. I mean, that did pass by the slimmest of margins. So I think that's the logical first step. And then from there, we follow through that process and get the feedback of the commission, the community, and see what the will is. So.
And please, let me just emphasize what my wife had stressed. We traveled extensively into the north end of the barrier island. For years, we used to go to Smyrna Dunes Park, and we noted that
Yeah.
peninsula is 25, I believe. So we have roads that are 20 and 25, and then they even lowered Atlantic because they realized it was too
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, that was
So,
an interesting point. I
yeah,
noticed that, so
it's something to keep our residents safer.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
So,
Sure, go ahead.
feedback on that issue.
Sure.
My only concern is, I have two streets in my former zone, the west side, and my current zone, Venetian Bay.
We're going to have to put a date where we all agree to never use those words again.
That,
Never.
that also are having the same problems. And what I'm telling my constituents is, there's a traffic manual adopted, there's a process, you need to follow the process. So if we're going to change that, I have problems with that. So either everybody's going to go through the same process, or nobody goes through the process. We'll just do it willy-nilly. The other thing is, I'm perfectly comfortable with saying every residential street is 25 miles per hour. I'll vote on that tonight, because there are so many, to Lisa's point, inconsistencies. If it's not marked as 30, but who knows that unless you have had some dealings with it? You know, if there's two streets that have no signage from one end to the other, and one of them dumps it at Chisholm. So, like, people are killing cats and dogs on the road. And so, if you want to make all residential streets 25 miles an hour, I'm happy with that. I mean,
Let's just do it tonight, be done with that. Watch Chief's head explode back there.
Chief is okay with it. I'm sure he would be, you know?
So he pointed out to me at one point, have you ever noticed from 44,
Yes.
from like just somewhere right over here, like at Myrtle, from Myrtle to the other causeway, there's like four different speed limits that it goes up and down as you go kind of over the different bridges. I mean, it's absurdity. I mean, that's not. So, okay, go ahead.
I'm just going to complicate the issue.
Are you going to say your former zone though? Because if you are, I'm going to shut it down.
Gentlemen,
Hey, hang on, let him, he had the floor. Hang on, let
You can have
him
the
speak.
Let's figure out what the 85th percentile is on every street, and that's where the speed limit's going to be.
Okay. All right.
we
Last
should-
comment on this.
We
and then
should
we'll move
have added in our manual the city's purview and prerogative to lower speed limits by 5 miles an hour. It's something that's commonly done. Many major cities have done that successfully, lowered their speed limits to actually 25. I think it was, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but a previous mayor had wanted to lower Atlantic to 25. I don't think she got support for that. But we need to keep our citizens safer, and I'm trying
Yeah.
in every way to do that.
Okay, so I think, let's start with knowing when we have the power. I tend to agree with Commissioner Hartman on, is there a process? Maybe there's issues with the manual, which we could identify, but let's at least try to go through, because I've told people the same thing. People have come to me, and I've said, we have a traffic calming manual. This is the process you got to follow. It's not the easiest, but it's at least the process to follow. Now, I do think we do have some discretion from that, but I think we got to do one or two things. We've got to commit that we're going to go through that arduous process every time, or we're just going to kind of willy-nilly this, and I don't think that's going to be successful long-term. All right, my
By
comment.
the way, please,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry
That's
to
all right.
interject. The county did approve it at their last meeting, the ISBA agreement.
Yeah, the effective date is when it's filed with the clerk of the circuit, so I'm looking now. I know
Okay.
there was an issue.
So it's imminent, though. It's not.
It's
I
imminent.
didn't know if it was if there was an effective date that was like end of year type effective date. So they approved it. It's imminent. So point well made. Okay, I just have one thing that I'll cover off on. Commissioner Clody mentioned it about the naming of the parks. I have one or maybe two connected ideas. I would like to see us have. I also don't like the idea of naming things after people. It's been done. It's very common. I'm okay with sponsors buying naming space and putting money into youth programs or things like that. If we wanted to have the Nike Stadium, I'm okay with that for a couple $1 million that we can use to refurbish the stadium. But I don't necessarily want to slap anyone's name over the stadium if they, So I think that's where I'm at. However, I do think it would be neat. We do have a lot of people that have served the city, either in a citizenry capacity or an elected capacity, that do deserve, no doubt, some kind of longstanding, recognition of in some large or small way. So I think it would be neat as an idea, just floating this out there for the first time to the rest of the commission, to have some kind of a memorial park or legacy park or founders park or whatever you want to call it, make up a name, where there's an area of that park where trees can be planted, where the city can plant on behalf, if it's an elected official or staff, or even a citizen can nominate and say, we'd like to plant a tree in memory of our so-and-so, and we're willing to pay the $250 or whatever the number is to plant a tree. And so we have an area that we have this, and with that comes, there's some kind of a bronze plaque at the base of that tree, and that creates a spot where people can gather and remember those people that have made an impact on our community and our city, and yet we're not taking a whole area and saying this whole, someone is so important to have this entire area, this entire park named after that person. So that's kind of one idea. I'll come to you in a minute. I'll see it. The other is to have, so whether that be the AOB site or some other site, the other one would be, if we're not going to do that at the AOB site, to just have a naming contest for that site. Like, come up with, put it out there, let the public have some fun with it, come up with a name for that park, whatever that may be. It's in the bend of the river, maybe it's, bends, play off of something, get the community involved, come up with a name, and then we start using that in our vernacular.
Yeah.
So,
As long as it's not named after someone.
as long as it's not
Yeah.
someone's, exactly, yeah, well, that would be the parameter we would say. All right.
No, I just wanted to remind you, we do have that program where you can name a tree, and you give money to our department, maintenance department, and they provide the tree, and they provide a plaque. So I know
In one of the parks? Do you pick the park, or?
I know, in one of
Okay.
my, Pat Driver, I don't know if
Yes.
you knew Pat, when his wife passed away, what we did is we gathered monies and we bought him a magnolia, which is in Riverside Park, right across from where he used to walk his dog all the time.
Yeah.
So we have that.
Okay.
And maybe we should make it more public that exists. That way
Yeah.
we get more trees also.
Right, yeah. Okay, and maybe we just expand that to include recognition of, again, city leaders that have served the city, either in staff or
Yes.
capacity where we have that same program. So, yes.
So I happened to be at Riverside Park the other night. I got thrown out of the house. Not because I was bad, but because my wife was having a ladies' night. So walking through the park, almost every tree in Riverside Park has been named. There's
Yeah.
a plaque at every one of them. Some of them you can't read because the grass has grown over them and stuff. So, I'd be curious as how that policy actually goes, who maintains it, are they required to maintain it, or something that we need to do? And, do we need maybe more people to adopt that park or adopt the trees in the park or something like that going forward to make sure that it's presentable, and given the respect that they're truly due if we've named a tree after them. But most of them have plaques at the bottom of the trees, so.
Yeah, okay. All right, so maybe we just go with a naming contest for the AOB site, move forward from that. Get some publicity around the tree program, and then as a city and as a city commission, maybe that's something that we just take on our purview. For instances where we a former elected passes, that's part of the ceremony is we put some tree in place, put the plaque in place, and that cost is borne by the city on behalf of the city to the family as a gesture. So that's just something to consider. So, all right, that was all of my comments. City manager report. Ron, anything to cover on that?
Barring any questions on the submitted report, I have nothing. I got some messages here from
Go
Colin.
ahead,
He just sent me.
read those. I'll move on. I'll come back to you.
He's just verifying we already have a tree program in
Okay,
place.
gotcha. He's streaming. He's a few minutes behind. All right. Any questions for city manager? Yes.
So on the development activity report, there's some discussion about the parking lot on Faulkner.
Okay.
Is that going to be a permanent parking lot or a temporary parking lot? Because if it's a temporary, it has to come to this board to be approved for 2 years, right? If the ordinance serves me, my memory serves me right.
I'm sorry, what did you just say? If it's a temporary, it has to come to
If
the
it's
board?
going to be a temporary parking lot, it has to have approval of this board to be designated a temporary parking lot, and can only be for 2 years. But, so I don't know where we are in the process with that? Is it going to be permanently paved and done, or is it just going to be temporary for now? So, just,
My understanding, it's permanent parking, but I'm sure he'll
Yeah.
clarify here in a second.
We'll, maybe if he can just send an email to all
We'll do
of us,
that.
and that'll be public record if somebody wants it, so, all right.
Don't you have to pave it after 2 years?
If it's temporary, I don't know the answer to that. We'll get some more clarification from staff. Okay, city clerk report.
He's saying temporary.
Temporary is what he's saying, which may or may not have to be approved, done after 2 years. I don't know the answer. City clerk, can you report?
Yes, just a upcoming reminder, there is, at the next meeting, the youth council will be here,
Oh, that's the
so,
joint meeting.
yes.
Everyone's okay with that? Still like we've done in the past?
Just wanted to
Okay.
check that before, that's what we've been training for.
Okay.
Also, this might be a good opportune time for me to ask. I've been asking to temporarily move our department to 120 Flagler for over a year until our renovations are done, privatizing the clerk's office, especially since elections are coming up. And so since there was discussion tonight, I would volunteer to temporarily go there with my department, especially with the upcoming elections, because we do need confidential privacy. That's been my whole push.
Okay.
But our plans have been delayed indefinitely.
Okay. I'm open to that. I'd love to talk to you more about it. I'm not ready to.
What was that?
I'd love to talk to you more about that.
Sure.
I'm open to that idea. So we'll talk more about that.
Thank you.
So your city clerk, if you have questions, I encourage you to talk to her, and then we'll bring that back at some time in the future. City attorney,
No report.
any last thing from Colin? I've heard some beeping over there.
You've already approved
Okay.
that as temporary parking.
Okay, got it. We've already approved it as temporary parking. Did you hear that? That it was on a
The
previous.
lot here, he said the commission's already approved it as temporary parking.
All right, we'll let him send an email.
yeah. I'd like to see it. Okay.
I don't remember that exactly either.
No.
It may have been somewhere on the consent agenda that I missed, but, all right. If no further discussion for the board, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.